Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about project 30.1, and we're going to be talking about using the using our Pico W as a client. And we're going to be talking about the TCP process in general. And TCP IP, remember that's the Transport Control Protocol, the Internet Protocol. These are the main communication methods that you do network communications. So you'll hear, if you take a networking class, you'll hear about the OSI model, the 7-layer OSI model, which also corresponds to the 4-level TCP IP stack. So I won't get into the weeds on that, but we do have a little bit of the weeds here in our lesson. Component list, we're going to have the usual suspects. We've got our Pico, and we've got our micro USB connector there. For the TCP connection, there's two types of connections that you'll learn about. There's TCP connections and there's UDP connections. The difference between the two is UDP is kind of a fire and forget technology. It's where you take a packet and you send it and you don't care if it's received or not. TCP is one where you actually work off of a handshake. You synchronize it, and if you have a problem where packets are lost or come out of order, that you can go through correction, things to go ahead and get that data resent as needed. So you have this thing, whenever you're setting up a TCP connection, you're setting it up through what they call the 3-time handshake. And you'll have the one computer send out basically a SYN, SYN, a synchronization packet. And then the other one will respond with an acknowledgement that it received the synchronization. Then the other one will send an acknowledgement back, and that completes the handshake there. So you go through this handshake in order to establish your communication at the beginning. Then you work off of that TCP connection that you've set up. And here's the visual explanation of that. So the client is going to send the SYN. So it's SYN, ACK, SYN, ACK, and that's the three handshake deal there. So yeah, it's not any more, well, you can get into different levels of complication with this, but at its heart, just know that, when you're setting up your communications, you're setting it up through that 3-way handshake. To do this project, and I was kind of sad to see that the project doesn't actually show the SYN, ACK, SYN, or the SYN, SYN, ACK, SYN. It's just, or ACK, it's going through the process of showing you some TCP communications that you can do after you set up that socket. And so we talk about it in terms of a socket. You set up this socket, and you're going to be sending all of your communication to that socket. So what we do here, we're going to install this thing called processing. So you want to download this from processing.org/download. You'll select the whether you're using Windows, Linux, Mac OS. You'll install that on there. They may actually have that in the folder. Just get the latest version, go to the website to grab that. And then once you get it, you'll run it. Inside the directory, you're going to find the files that they want you to load on here. So before we get into that, this is just what the interface looks like. You can choose to run the software on your computer in either the server or client mode. We're going to be doing server here. So put it in a server. It's going to tell you in here what your IP address is that your computer is using, and it's going to give you 8888 as your port. And then later when we start things, we're going to have to click on this. This is an actual button, and you click on that to set it up in listening mode. And this is the clear received. So if you want to clear out all the stuff that comes in here, you can just hit on clear there. Then the stuff here that you're sending out, you can hit this to clear it. I don't see any need really to do the clear send, but the clear receive you may want to do later. You'll see what I mean. And then this is talking about what's going to happen as we set it up as this is in client mode. In client mode, because we're going to be using this as a client, we're going to go to a server like on Pico. We're going to have to get its IP address and then set the remote port to whatever it's going to use. We're not doing that yet, so don't worry about that. This is a little bit about the process. Don't worry about that for now. I'll show it to you. And then the code. So once you get processing up and running, it's going to have like a blank sketch there. You'll want to go ahead and install the control IP5, and that is going to give you the necessary library that you're going to need. So you want to go up to the Tools menu, go down to Add Tool, and then you can go into Libraries there and just type in control IP5. Wait a minute or two, it's going to go and it's going to look through the list of everything that's out there. Then you're going to be able to click on the Install button over here, and that will install it into the set for you. Then you're going to need to open up the, there's going to be a file, it's called sketchwifi.pde, and this is in your directory with the Python code. Once you've done that, you're going to click on Run, and it's going to bring up that fancy GUI that we talked about earlier. Then in that GUI, you're going to click on the listening, and everything will be hunky-dory. So I am going to pull up the code in VS Code, not Thonny here. So really, the rest of this we won't worry about. But let me go ahead and also start out with your Python, your Pico, with your Pico not plugged in. I've got Thonny open here. I'm going to close Thonny because I'm not going to use Thonny. I'm going to pull up, VS Code, and I'm also going to pull up process right here. So this is the thing. You click on the play, and it will bring up your sketch here, which my local IP address is 154. The port it's using is defaulting to 8888. I'm going to click on listening here. And what that does is it sets up this little server here to listen on port 8888. So it's just sitting there and listening for any TCP/IP traffic on 8888. So then over here, we have our client. You're going to need to put in your SSID for your router and your password. Not really going to need it to use it here, but it's necessary for setting up the network. So go ahead and put something in there. For your host, you're going to put in the number that you have here, 192.168.1.154 in my instance, and port 8888. So I imagine you're only going to have to change your port right there. We're saying WLAN equals none, S equals none. We've got to connect Wi-Fi here, and we've got to try. So the way this is going to work here, let's go down here because this is the meat and the potatoes. We're going to click on connect Wi-Fi, and it's going to take your SSID and password. And we look up here, it's going to go ahead saying global WLAN, so we can make changes for this in the global scope. We're setting up a network in station mode. So we're setting this up to be the client. We're activating it. We're disconnecting it, and just to clear it out, and then we're going to connect to the SSID and the password that we supplied for our router. And then we're saying while the if config of the 0 is 0.0.0.0, we're going to sleep it, and then we're going to return true. So that will get us down to our try. So we're going to hit that. We're going to connect our Wi-Fi. Once we've got Wi-Fi connected there, we're going to set up our socket. So this is s equals socket.socket. That's creating a socket here. And then we're setting the options for it. And we're saying that it's going to be the SOL socket, and we're going to reuse the address, and we're saying that to 1. So then we do a connect. We're going to connect to the host and the port that we mentioned up above, and that is right here, the 154 and the 8888. So we've essentially right here set up a socket to our host on the port that it talked about. Then we echo that out to the screen, and then we're going to send on that socket. We're going to send out a message. So we're going to send that message over here to our server, and we're going to tell it, hello, this is my IP. Okay, so we're going to say, hello, this is my IP, and then we're going to go and say while true, and we're going to do data equals s.receive. We're going to whatever is received from the socket, 1024 bits. We're going to go and say if the length of it is 0, then we're going to close the socket. Otherwise, we're going to print the data out that came in, and then we're going to send that data right back to it. Okay, so we're going to send it right back. So this is the way it's going to go. If we have any errors in the process, we're going to say TCP close, please reset. And you're going to see this if you try to run this program again without unplugging your micro USB cable, you'll come across that. So anyway, one thing that I want to point out, because when you look at this, it doesn't really make sense until you realize that this right here is what we call a blocking statement. So this right here, it's going to get to the point where it's waiting on data from the socket, and it's not going to move until it receives something. So that was a little bit confusing when I was looking at that before, but I realized that it must be blocking because it's going to go here and wait. Because if you think about it, it's constantly waiting for data. And if it gets nothing, it's going to say, hey, the length of it is 0, so I got nothing there. I'm going to close the socket, closes the socket right there. And then it breaks out of this loop and it prints out the data, and then it sends that data back, which should be a blank. But I was thinking, wait, why is it not doing that? And it's because this is blocking. So it's not going to actually move to the next line until it receives something on the socket. So that explains what's going on here. So we're going to go ahead and run this. It says Pico connection is lost, and that's because I have it unplugged. I will plug it in right now, and we should see this message not disappear, but over here it'll go from Pico disconnected to Pico connected, which it just did. We're going to hit run, and when we hit run, it's going to wait a second. Now it says it's connected to this address. So that's what we got here. And then it also sent out this message. And if you look over here, that's exactly what we have. We have, on 192, it has our IP address. Hello, this is my IP. So that's great. So, hello, this is my IP. We did not send the IP. This is what's going to come up whenever. So in the code for this software, it's going to say to print out the IP : then space. And the rest of it is just what we get from there. I don't like the fact that we have that hello without a space, but we could always add that in later if you want. But now anything that you put over here, we're going to put our little message that we're going to send back to it. So we're going to type in, hello, my name is John. And we're going to click on send. And look what happens. We go over here and it receives that. So over here, it receives the message. Then it goes and the message length is not 0, so it's going to go and it's going to print it. Then it's going to send it back to our server. So it sent it back here. And again, it prefaces it with the IP address of the client that sent it. So if you think we've got 5 different Picos out there, it will tell us which one is sending it. So that's one reason why I guess it has the IP address in front of it. So we get that, hello, my name is John, because we did resend it to the server right here. So all this is going to do is essentially echo out the message back and forth. So so you can type in whatever you want. You can say Jupiter, just for no reason whatsoever, but you hit that. It's going to echo it here because it was received. Then you see it pushes it back over here. So you're playing ping pong. You're just playing word ping pong at this point. So play around with this. This all is going to end when you click on the listening thing over here. So if you click on listening, you notice that we just got the closed socket over here. And that's because when you hit listening end, it kills the socket and it's going to come back saying, data was empty. It's going to say close socket. It's going to close it. It's going to break out of here. And that's pretty much the end of it. It prints an empty thing for data and we're out. So that was it. But now if you try to run it again, if you click on listening here and you try to run it, you're going to come across this thing that says TCP close, please reset. And if you go over here and you do a reset on it, it says soft reset done, you're not going to get the result you think. You click on run again and it's going to ask you to close it. You're going to have to unplug your device again. You're going to unplug Pico. You see it's just been disconnected there. Now if we plug it back in, it'll go back to Pico connected. And now if we run, we'll see that it works again. So it's going to wait a second. It's going to have that. We've synchronized everything here. All is good. I had hoped that we would be able to watch the handshake process where it shows you the different things here, but it didn't. Yeah, this isn't set to do this. This is just to show you what you can do with TCP communication. That idea of going back and forth on a socket. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. Stay tuned. We'll have another video coming quite soon. So enjoy.